I'm Charlie Rymer, and this is the Charlie Rymer Golf Show, powered by PlayGolfMyrtleBeach.com.
All right, folks, once again, appreciate you joining me here on the Charlie Rymer Golf Show, and I'm thrilled to have not only one of the most talented people I know, but one of the best people I know. Henry Cho is joining us today. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Charlie. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, you got to bear with me here. I wrote the big intro. I think I got most of it right. You can correct me later on. So, comedian, actor, underwear model.
Yes.
I threw the underwear model part in there. So I'm buttering you up.
That was in the 80s.
Okay. Yeah, so was I. All right. You know him for stand-up. He's a regular guest on late-night TV. He's open for the likes of Willie Nelson, Reba, Carrie Underwood, Amy Grant, and Vince Gill. He makes regular appearances on the Grand Ole Opry. More on that in a minute. You can hear him every day on SiriusXM and Pandora on their comedy channels, and he's got quite a few other film and TV projects, and we're going to get into that a little bit later as well. So how'd I do, Henry? I'm sure I left some things out.
Well, you should leave things out. Then we can talk about it.
Well, we might do that. But with a big intro, the logical question after that is, how's your golf game?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We should have done this about 3 weeks ago, and I could have said, man, I'm hitting the ball better than I have in a long time. I was playing really, really well, and then, as you know, golf showed up, and I don't even know what I'm doing now. It's crazy how bad my game is right now.
But you're a 7-8 handicap in that neighborhood, right?
You know, I used to be lower, but right now that's my index is 5.
Yeah.
3 at the beginning of the year, and I got it down to like a 2.7, and now I'm back up to a 5 after my last 10 rounds I posted.
Well, I want our audience to know that's the sign of a honest man right there. I had him set up for 7, 8, or 9, and he claimed a 5. I mean, that's just what kind of person you are, Henry.
Well, you know, I have to still get. You know what? I played today. And the 2 guys I was playing against told me my index when I got to the tee.
They let you know what it was. They'd already looked it up.
They let me know how many strokes they're getting.
Well, cool. Well, Henry, I want to ask you, one of the best evenings I've ever had. You're a regular at the Grand Ole Opry. They love you there, and you invited myself and my wife a night that. You were on at the Opry to come over, be your guest. Your wife was there. Your daughter was there. And I got to tell you, Ricky Skaggs was hosting. You did your deal. I'd always heard how cool the Grand Ole Opry was and how well they treat the artists and the guest performers. But I was so blown away by going to the Opry and being your guest, riding right up and walking in the artist entrance and entrance and all of that. I felt like I was guest of a professional playing in the Masters. That's what it felt like to me. And just tell me a little bit about the Grand Ole Opry and going over there as much as you do, how much it means to you to be able to go over there and perform.
You know, that's a great comparison because as a golfer, being able to play in the Masters is always a great thing. And, you know, I'm just really blessed. I can't believe that I get to do the Opry, especially as many times as I have. Probably done it 40 times. You know, it started out probably 8, 9 years ago. Pete Fisher, who was the GM, said, you know, you need to start doing the Opry. And I'm like, you know, I do special occasions. He goes, no, not special occasions. It's just you need to do the Opry. And I did it once with Vince, and Amy Grant just happened to be there, and good friends of both of us. And Amy goes, you need to do the Opry more because humor's always been part of it, and it's missing. So I said, okay. So a couple times a month I would show up, and they'd let me do my thing. And, it was never in my wheelhouse, never in my wildest dreams or goals. I never thought it was even an option to perform on the Grand Ole Opry. And being born and raised in Knoxville, knowing Opry my whole entire life, it was just I never thought about it. And now, every time I walk out on that stage, it freaks me out that I'm walking out where Elvis has, and everybody who has ever done anything in music walks out on that stage. It's amazing, and I love the way, like you said, how people treat each other. The honor young stars give pioneers is amazing. When Carrie Underwood just bows down to Bill Anderson and John Conley and all those guys, just the respect they have for paving the way for them to be where they are now.
Yeah, it's a live show. Is it still running 7 nights a week?
No. So the Grand Ole Opry has never been off the air on Saturday nights, which is the official night, in over 90 years.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget one time we had a huge snowstorm here, and the whole place shut down. I think we had like 8 inches on Friday night, Saturday morning, and I was doing it with a buddy of mine, and I called him and I said, hey, so they're going to cancel? He goes, they don't cancel Saturday night. So drive your wife's tank, come pick me. And we left at 4 o'clock to go, and it was at the Ryman, and we drove downtown. And, it took about an hour. What should take 25 minutes took about an hour and a half to get there. And they did the show. And so every Saturday night, they're doing a form of the Opry. It's, Vince did it with his with Amy and Jenny and Karina. And, they just have various artists do every Saturday night. So it's on.
Well, you brought up Vince Gill a couple times now, and for both of us, he's one of our best friends, and he's the one that actually introduced the two of us. You think he just felt sorry for us and thought that us two idiots ought to just be together? Is that what you think?
I think he was trying to keep us out of trouble if we hang together. It wouldn't look like a bunch of losers at his golf tournament.
Well, I tell you what, it's hanging out playing golf with Vince, as I know you've done a ton of over the years, and then going out on the road and opening for him. Have you ever seen anybody that's that talented, but yet so much a normal person when he's not up on a stage or playing to a live audience?
No, he sets the standard. He really does. And I'll never forget one time we were standing in line at Pancake Pantry, famous breakfast place in Nashville. And the owner came out, said, hey, you guys want to come through the back? And I kind of leaned that way. And Vince goes, no, we're good. And I said, all right. And Vince goes, don't ever do that. I said, okay.
Well, that took a lot of discipline, because I know how much he likes pancakes.
Oh, well, but he just doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to jump on people. And so he's really set the standard of being just a normal guy with so much talent, and how well known he is. He's just a normal guy.
Yeah, unbelievable. And then he starts singing, and oh my goodness! And of course, he's been the Eagles now. This is his 3rd year with the Eagles, and it's thrilling to see that he's playing to the biggest of audiences this late in his career. I know he's absolutely loving that.
Oh, he's loving it. No one sings like a girl better than him.
That's a good point. Yeah, very, very good point, Henry. All right, how many performances have you had on Tonight Show over the years? Because I know you and Leno have got a strong friendship, and I know you've been not a regular, but you've had a lot of time in L.A. on a lot of shows, in particular Tonight Show. Tell me a little bit about some of those experiences.
Yeah, I've done it like half a dozen times, maybe a little more, and I'll never get the first time. I was supposed to be Johnny Carson's last new guy, and he announced his retirement 3 weeks before I was supposed to go on, and everybody and their brother showed up for one last time. I'd be backstage at NBC, and I'd go, oh, there's Clint Eastwood. He's not supposed to be on. Oh, there's Bette Midler. So I kept getting bumped. I got bumped 6-7 times. So Jay, when I saw Jay, he goes, hey, I still want you to do the show when I take over. And I said, I haven't gone on yet. He goes, yeah, you did. I saw you. I go, no, that was another show.
So wait a minute. So you're like in a bullpen waiting to see if you can go on or not go on.
I was scheduled to go on. I was in TV Guide.
Yeah.
But Bette Midler would show up, and Robin Williams and Clint Eastwood.
Well, that's rude of them.
I thought so. So Jay told me, he goes, hey, when I take over, I want you to still do the show. I go, I haven't done it. He goes, well, you'll be my first guy. And I was on the first week Jay did. I was his first comedian he had on.
Well, I know that, and I, whenever we're together, we don't talk about the professional side of your business very much, but I see the way you attack golf and the way you love golf. And I feel like I know how that translates over into business, because you in golf look like you're a 30 handicap. You're the best horrible looking golfer that I know. I mean, your putting stroke looks painful to me, but then I look at it and you make everything. Everything.
And all you guys who play for a living don't even know how I hit the ball.
No, it's like, how do you do that? But you've got to be one of the most sought after scramble partners, not only in Nashville, the United States, but globally, because number one, you're going to make everybody laugh. You're going to make everybody feel good about their golf swing. And then you're going to be the guy putting last that makes every putt, and you end up winning a trophy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I do well in scrambles. I do.
I bet you do. But I just, in watching how you play golf and you attack life and in your material, getting bumped from doing Johnny Carson all those times, I mean, you might have got a little mad about it, but it's just not in your nature to let that bother you. I wouldn't think.
No, it was total respect. I mean, Mr. Carson even told me, Henry, I'm sorry, I should have waited until you were done and before I said I was going to retire. And he apologized to me, wrote me a nice letter, and I'm like, Mr. Carson, I'm still like, I'm not even sure I'm supposed to be on the show yet, I don't think I'm that good yet. And but he goes, no, I really wanted to break you, and I'm sorry it's not working out. And and then Jay came through and said, you're my first guy, and I've always made choices for who I am. As you said, I attack my career and comedy the way I do it. So I've always been clean. I've made choices, turned down things that I thought were too irreverent or didn't work for my family. So it's never been about, I've always tried to keep a faith, family, fame priority thing going. And, it's been hard at times to give up some opportunities. But once I see my kids and where they grew up and who they've become, being 20, 17, and 14, I made the right decision.
Now that's the thing that when people ask me about you, that's the answer I give them. In a really tough business where a lot of people can go to the gutter very quickly and get some cheap laughs, that's not who Henry Cho is. And I know your faith is not number one on the list. I know you're very active in your church. You've been very active in Christian projects, but at the same time, there's a lot of challenges in the clean humor, and is that been tough to navigate for you?
Yes, I've never billed myself as a Christian comedian. I'm just a comedian who happens to be a Christian, mainly because Christian comedians aren't funny. That's a joke. I don't mean that mean. Christian comedians work churches, and that's their crowd. I mean, I still do Vegas every year.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be mainstream. So it's hard to navigate sometimes. Early in my career, it was the hardest when I was doing some really horrible rooms with horrible crowds, and you just wanted to cuss everybody out.
Right. A lot of drinking going on. And
chicken wire gigs where they had the chicken wire up on the stage so the bottles wouldn't hit you, stuff like that. I did a couple of those. I did the Chitlin tour, which is an all-black club tour. Uh, show starts at midnight. I go on about 2 a.m. It was awful, but I never changed gears because I knew if I did, I wouldn't be successful. I knew that wasn't why I was allowed to do what I do. And so I've stuck to my guns that way. But it's hard to navigate. And I got interviewed by this young college girl about 5 years ago. Excuse me. And she said, I read that it's 80% harder to do clean comedy. And I said, you got the article right in front of you? And she goes, yeah. I go, read a little lower. She goes, oh, says Henry Cho. I go, I just made that up.
Yeah.
I made 80% harder. And right after that, though, Bob Newhart, he concurred. He goes, Henry's right. It's about 80% harder.
Yeah. Well, the only other comedian that I know who is not that he works it into his act, like you don't necessarily work your faith into your act, but people can tell you're a little bit different. Larry the Cable Guy, I've gotten to be good buddies with him, and
yep.
and in fact, I had no idea he was actually, and he'd have been horrible at this. Just kidding, he'd have been really good. He was going to be a youth minister at a Baptist church not too far from where he grew up. And he ended up being a sales manager of a Radio Shack on the south side of Atlanta. And he asked me one time, he said, could you imagine how bad I'd be at being a sales manager at a Radio Shack? I said, yeah, really, really bad at doing that. The other thing I want to get into with you, and we haven't really talked about this, is you're very proud of your Korean culture. And it's a big part of your act. And you embrace a lot of the stereotypes that are there. And I've actually, from listening to your act, I've learned a lot in a humorous way. But in the end, I walk away feeling like I actually learned something about the Korean culture. Do you feel like that's maybe part of your calling, as breaking down some of the stereotypes and maybe help the cultures understand each other a little bit better?
Yeah, it became a calling. I was born and raised in Knoxville, and I just grew up one of the guys. Didn't even know I was different until I was in college, and we're on spring break, and I used to have a real thick accent. I had to start enunciating in the mid-'90s when I hosted Friday Night Videos on NBC.
Yeah.
And the first video I introduced was Aerosmith with Steven Tyler. And they had to move your mouth. I went, all right. All right. So
I got to interrupt. It's really funny. Somebody just told me they used the word "used to have." I used to have a thick accent, but now I'm all good.
I used to have a real thick accent. So, we met these girls from Michigan, and they thought I was mocking the way my buddies talked.
Uh-huh.
My buddies are like, no, he always talks that way. What are you talking about? So when I moved to L.A., because there were no Koreans or Asian people around me my entire life until I moved to L.A. And then I was around a lot of Asian people would come to my shows because they'd never seen anything like me. I'll never forget one young Korean guy came up to me. I was probably 26. He was probably 22. And he came up and just goes, thank you. I go, what? He goes, I didn't know we could be like you. And I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you're not the sidekick. You're not the guy behind the counter. You're the guy. And I didn't know we were allowed to be the guy.
Wow.
He goes, but now I know I can be the guy. And so Pat Morita, remember Pat Morita from Happy Day? Mr. Miyagi. So Pat and I were doing a project, and he said, you're the guy. You're going to change a lot. So don't sell out. You can't do a broken English role. They're going to offer you the moon. I said, I'm not doing broken English. There's no way. And he said, but they're going to offer you a lot. Just, you can stick to it. You'll make a lot of headway. And so it became a calling. It gives me a great feeling when I hear guys like Ken Jeong, who is a comedian, actor now. When Ken tweeted out something last year, just saying I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Henry Cho. He's the pioneer. He's paved the way that we do things differently because he would never cave and do it the other way. So,
your folks over the years, have they listened to your act very much? Because I mean, it's real, your act, and they're a big part of it, telling stories. How is that going over?
My dad didn't talk to me the first 18 months I did stand up.
18 months.
18 months. Well, I mean, they came up from Korea, okay? Yeah. And so I was supposed to be a doctor or play the cello. And I didn't either. I'm telling jokes in a bar.
Yeah.
Never thought. So he was at some medical seminar in Cincinnati, and some of his colleagues came to the show. I didn't know anything about this. And I was on the show. So I came home from that road trip probably 5-6 weeks later, and he came out and said, were you in Cincinnati? I go, yes, I was. I told you I was there. He said, well, some of my colleagues thought you were really good and that you were the best and you're going to go places. So go ahead and stick with what you're doing. And I went, all right.
Wow. How long did you cry for when you got somewhere by yourself?
Yeah, I tell you, I got in my truck. My girlfriend goes, what's going on? I go, I'm bulletproof now. My dad just said, keep going. Yeah.
What a cool moment. Do your wife and kids think you're funny?
Yes.
Really?
It's great. Yeah, Amy thinks I'm the funniest person she knows, which helps.
Yeah. And
my kids do too. And all my kids are innately funny. And you know Amy. Amy's funny. There's a lot of sarcasm in our house. I mean, if you can't take a joke, my kids will bury you. I mean, it's brutal. They have, some people come by and somebody will say something and they just write it. It's amazing how funny they are, and it's clever, and their timing is uncanny. And if you ask all three of my kids, because Grant's really funny, who's the funniest person they know, they'll go, I hate to say it, but it's my dad.
Oh, that's so cool to hear. Henry, what's going on right now? Tell me about current projects.
Well, with COVID, everything's new. I never thought I'd be home this long ever. So this is the longest break I've ever had. I haven't done a show since February 29th. Just some things like that. Like Amy, I never knew she had gray hair.
She obviously didn't want you to know.
No, she finally got to go to the hairdresser last week.
Yeah.
So it's all, but I'm like going, wow, okay. So project-wise, I have a TV pilot that I'm kind of doing it differently. Me and my buddy Jim Hope, who we had a deal with CBS back 2007 through 2009 when Craig Ferguson was my executive producer. My buddy Jim Hope, who's written for Titus and George Lopez and other shows, he and I got back together. We've been best pals for 29 years. He and I got together and we wrote a pilot script, and some investors paid us to write it. And so now we have another investor involved. So we shoot this pilot, and we're supposed to shoot it at the end of February, but
production delays and
right. So now
hopefully we'll be going back. Hopefully we'll be going back quick, because I don't know any part of business or entertainment or life that hasn't been touched by COVID-19, but Nashville in particular has to have been hit really hard.
Yes, there's no one doing anything. I mean, we're all just playing golf. I saw Jake Owen the other day, and Jake said, I know it's horrible. A lot of people are suffering, but I never thought I'd get to see my little girl learn how to walk. Because we're just not home. We're not home. I mean, Amy's going crazy with me being here this long. Like, I'm going somewhere. I go, just go. I can't be. We've never done this. We've been married almost 22 years. I've never been home this long.
Well, Henry, there's a silver lining. in every cloud. My youngest son is a senior at University of Missouri. He's been living at home with my wife and I. He's had enough of us old folks, but we've enjoyed having him around, and I've certainly enjoyed having you around. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Charlie. Love you.
All right, love you too, Henry, and hopefully we'll see you out on the road, playing a little bit of golf, making people laugh at night. Some of our musician friends will get everybody feeling positive and trying to move forward, because what you guys do is really, really important to us as a society, and we appreciate all that, Henry. Thank you very much, bud.
Well, thank you, Charlie. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Charlie Rymer. We'll see you next time on the Charlie Rymer Golf Show, powered by PlayGolfMyrtleBeach.com.